Welcome to A Friend of Mine, a series of conversations with some incredible and inspiring women in business from regional and rural Australia. I'm Kimberly Finesse, your host and the founder and editor of Oak Magazine, and I cannot wait to introduce you to some amazing female entrepreneurs who will share with you their experience and knowledge of what it takes to start, grow and scale a successful business. So let me introduce you to a friend of mine. Incy Interiors was founded in 2011 by interiors enthusiast Kristy Withers. The business was born from a surprisingly difficult search for her son Oscar's first big boy bed. Kristy left her role with eBay and, using her corporate marketing experience, she launched Incy Interiors, debuting a range of retro-style iron beds and cots that are indescribably distinctive. The stylish range has since expanded to encompass around 70 products and is available across the globe. In fact, one of her most recent customers is Queen of Tennis Serena Williams. But the road to 10 years in business hasn't been straightforward or smooth sailing. In fact, Kristy almost didn't make it past the 8-year mark. Kristy shares with us what it took to push through that challenge, the key things that have helped Incy Interiors experience continual growth, the impact of running a global business on her family and health, and some must-visit places in Milthorpe and Orange in New South Wales. Meet my friend Kristy from Incy Interiors. Hello, Kristy, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Firstly, congratulations on 10 years of Incy Interiors. I bet there is a myriad of words that you could use to describe the journey.
Yes, there certainly is. It's really weird when you hit 10 years and reflect back. It seems like a lifetime, but also doesn't seem like it's that long at all. So it's really weird. It's a bit like child raising, I guess.
Yeah, you blink and you miss it, and before you know, they're teenagers.
Absolutely. I know. Yeah, we're nearly teenagers now. We've hit double digits.
Oh, it's an exciting time, the teenage hormones.
Yes, I'm just
Yeah.
encountering that with my son. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, for those who may be meeting you for the first time, can you tell us how you came to launch Incy Interiors?
So, prior to having Incy, I worked at eBay running their marketing advertising team. I was traveling all over the world, seeing all these beautiful products that were available, in the US and the UK. At around the same time, my son was turning 2 and ready for his first big boy bed, and I just couldn't find anything in Australia that I loved. And so I was just searching everywhere. I was trying to buy things off eBay. I was trying to import things. Nothing was working. And I just kept talking about it to anyone who'd listen, my poor team at work. And I'd be in work meetings talking about how hard it was to find a bed in Australia. And then finally I quit my job at eBay and ended up, we were on a holiday in Fiji, and I'm still harping on about this bed. And my husband just turned to me and said, "For God's sake, shut up and do it. You do it. Stop talking about it." So that's how we started.
That sounds very familiar. The husband just like
Please
it's
stop
similar
talking
to
about it.
yeah, exactly similar to mine with the mag. I think he just got tired of hearing it as well and just said, will you do it? There's nothing to lose. Just go and do it. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just need that person, isn't it? That I suppose that in-house support that if you did go ahead and do it, there's someone maybe that you can blame. Said, hey, it was your idea for me to do this.
Absolutely. I really did need that push. Yeah, and look, he's been my biggest supporter through the whole 10 years. So, yeah, we're lucky that we have husbands that support us.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, over those 10 years, can you identify like some one percenters that may have helped you build, a successful business to what it is today? Like, are there things that you've done over time that have really helped you, I suppose, grow and just continue to get everything working the way it should?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's probably 3 key things that have really allowed us to grow and to keep growing. So, number one is to not be afraid to hire people. I think lots of small businesses really get scared of that cost and that ongoing, they're really scared of hiring someone and then having that ongoing cost. And I think that as soon as you feel like you're stretched and you need that person, just hire them. You'll be able to afford it. Like you've just got to make the commitment and do it, because once it's unbelievable. You think, oh, that's going to be a cost, but it's actually a revenue generating thing often. So just by adding that extra person in, you're doubling the amount of work time. So that was the first thing. And just having an amazing team. Like that is my number one secret weapon at eBay is my team. So they are such an amazing group of people. Over the years, through the whole 10 years, I just love every single one of them. And they've really, they've been I've been quite specific in my recruitment too. So I definitely hire based on attitude rather than skill set. So I firmly believe that you can teach anything if you've got the right attitude, but you can have all the experience in the world and a crappy attitude, and it's not really ever going to help. So that's my number one. Number two, I think, is my marketing background. So prior to Incy, I obviously had a corporate marketing background. And I really think that, having the strategic insights and just having that corporate experience of knowing, how to structure things and how to know when to stop doing things. I think that was super helpful for us, and being really specific in, we knew who we were and who we were targeting and how we were speaking to them. And we've really kept that same tone of voice over 10 years, it's actually hard to do. It's something that seems really easy, but it's actually really hard to do. And then the third thing I would say is just being adaptable, just changing when you need to. So not getting set in your ways. Some things you have to just call a disaster and go, wow, that was a colossal waste of time, money, energy. But let's not dwell on that. Let's not waste any more of our resources on that, and let's just move on. So I think they're kind of the three things that have really allowed us to be where we are today.
Wow. Just that first one about team and just hiring that person. You're so right. It's something that holds us back. It's such a big step for small business owners. What were those first few hires for you? Like, what roles did you fill first?
So my very first hire was a girl called Sarah, and she's an American girl. So I launched. So up and prior to launch, I was really strategic. I had a full 12-month plan. I went to all the different media at the time. So I was going out to Babyology and Mum's Grapevine and My Child magazine. And I went to them all and I was like, I want to negotiate a 12-month plan, and I want bonuses and all of these different things. And they were like, wow, most people just want to go in our newsletter next week. And so I negotiated a 12-month plan with all of them, had really nailed our marketing. So when we launched, the day we launched, I thought we were just launching to the public. I didn't realize that, to be honest, I didn't even really understand what wholesale was. And so the day we launched, we were approached by 3 stockists. And I think by the end of that week, it was probably 15. So I just, A, didn't know what I was doing. And B, it was just too much for me to do the wholesale side of the business as well as everything else. So my very first hire was Sarah. And she stayed with me. She had 2 children while she was there. And she's now a lawyer. It's really cool. So, so she was our first ever hire, and that was week 1. We literally hired someone probably our very first week of training. And then after that, it was my brother and sister who joined the team. And I rescued my brother from failing university, basically. He was not loving university. So I was like, come and work with me. And he's still here today. So and my sister, she was hairdressing, wasn't loving it. And so I recruited her to do our marketing, and she stayed here for probably 9 years. So yeah, every single hire at Incy though has been really special, and has brought a different dynamic and different elements to the business.
Oh, wow. Lovely that you can recruit in-house, like
Yes.
with your family as well.
Helps having lots of siblings.
Oh, it must. How do you get your confidence then? Have you had no's like during that startup period? Like it just seems that you were so confident to go and ask for all these things. Like where does that confidence come from, and what happens when you get a no?
Look, I get lots of no's. It's certainly not all yes. I just think that I grew up in Oberon on a sheep farm, and with lots of cousins around, and I've got three younger siblings, and just one of those big crazy families. And so I think you just have to be confident. I was the youngest, so of the we're all in kind of different age groups. I think it's 100 and I can't remember the number now, 138 direct, like immediate relatives on my dad's side, and they all live around the same area. So it was kind of just survival of the fittest. So I think I had to be able to hold my own and be confident enough to put my ID forward. So yeah, I didn't really have a choice. I just had to do it. But look, I've just, I guess my family have always, been really empowering. And I just think it can't hurt. Like, if you don't ask, you'll never know. So I just am a big believer in just putting yourself out there, and, you'll never know if you don't ask.
Yep, exactly. The answer's always no unless you
Yeah.
ask. So,
Well, that's a
yeah.
worst case. And so
It is.
the best case is they say yes.
Mm.
And yeah, so I think just facing your fears. I'm not always perfect at it, but I try to just. I often say to the team, I'm going to put on my big girl undies and I'm just going to go and do this. So yeah, just pop your big girl
Yeah.
undies on and give it a go.
Now, do you have to go in and pitch to any like big organizations?
I don't. Not no.
Yeah.
We now are really retail focused. So we are really just working on it. We work on a direct to consumer model. We do have some stockists who we've had from the very early days, but we really switched our model. And this is once again back to that pivoting. We could see a couple of years ago that there was a change in how people were shopping, and people were moving away from you know from kind of in store and moving more online. And thankfully, that's moved back again. Like, I think that's the
Mm.
great thing that's come out of
Yeah,
COVID. We have
definitely.
swapped back, but yeah, no, we really don't have to pitch to big companies. Thankfully, I did obviously in various different corporate careers. I've had to do lots of pitching and presenting, but yeah, thankfully, I don't do that in my current role, which is quite nice because that's intimidating.
Oh, it is 100%. Now, you actually popped up on my radar a few years ago, and it was actually when you lost a couple of shipping containers that decided that they didn't want to arrive on the shores of Australia. I mean, can you take me through that time? Because from what I understand, that was a bit of a pivotal moment for you.
Oh, absolutely. So 2018 is burnt into my brain. It was, look, we just had, there was like three particular events that happened. So luckily, up until then, Incy had just grown and we'd kind of had almost a dream run. We hadn't really had anything huge that had impacted us. And so come February, we had a container that arrived full of water, and it was a container of wooden products. So that obviously meant that, three quarters of the container of products was not sellable. And lots of people the first thing they say is, well, isn't that insured? Yes, it was insured. The insurance company we dealt with basically wanted us to, wipe off mold, sandbag things, resell the products. And when I said, no, we're just not doing that, they were like, oh, we can sell it. It doesn't have to be branded as Incy. So as an insurance company, they just wanted to get as much back as they possibly could. So we had to make the decision then to just go, no, I just stood my ground. I said, no, I'm not doing that. Our products are really specific designs. So even if you put them in another box, people are going to know they're Incy. And also, I just couldn't sleep at night if I knew someone's baby was, sleeping in a product that had been wet, and who knows what kind of bacteria that could grow or anything like that. So we ended up, so that was about $400,000 worth of product, and we got $16,000. That happened in Feb, and the insurance company eventually settled with us in September for $16,000. So that was a big blow to us, and we just started to recover by about June, and then a container fell overboard off the coast of Newcastle. So thankfully, that was a much easier negotiation with the insurance company. They couldn't, you know, drag it out of the ocean and resell it. And then the good thing about, so the first one was that we pre-sell our products. So that container was sold and the next container was also sold of the wooden products. So we had to do mainly refunds for that. And then for the one that fell overboard, we did have stock in our warehouse in Taiwan. So we said, it's okay, we'll ship it and we'll have replacements here within 2 to 3 weeks. Everyone was really understanding. And then the ship that had the replacement container broke down in Papua New Guinea for 8 weeks. The company bled cash. Like, we were just bleeding cash left, right, and centre. We were just doing everything we could to try and keep people happy. I'm the ultimate people pleaser, so that was a really difficult time for me. And also for Tom. So Tom's my brother, who was our customer service person at the time. I do think we both still have probably some PTSD about it. And it was, both of us just hate disappointing people, and we were disappointing people, and that really broke my heart. And I really struggled after that, to be honest. I took a holiday at the end of the year, and I had the most amazing holiday, first time ever where I'd literally not worked for 2 weeks, and probably the only time in the 10 years that I just shut off for 2 weeks. And I really needed that, and I just came back and I was just like, I need to prioritize my family. And make this work for me instead of me just working for it. So that led to some changes for me, that kind of personally, just really not allowing Incy to take over my life as much as I had, and also just making sure I was prioritizing the kids. But then that's all well and good until coronavirus happens, and then you're back in the same. I'm back working as crazy hours as I was, back in 2018. But knowing that I'm working hard now, but I'm like, no, that my deadline is March, when things have got to get back into some kind of level of sanity, and I've just got to prioritize my family.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
They're
it's
so
hard.
important, aren't they?
Yeah, they
There is so
are.
much to unpack there,
I
Kristy.
know.
So firstly, like, as a mum, thank you for standing your ground with the insurance company. I think that's just amazing that you push back and that those products didn't end up in our babies' rooms. In terms of those customers, did you lose any, do you think? Did that damage the brand? And then what do you do to overcome that? Is there any tips to come back from something like that?
Look, I think if you're a small business owner listening to this, this will be so relevant. I think that, so look, 99% of people were really understanding and, really had our back and understood that none of that was, we couldn't have foreseen that, any of those things happening. So 99% of people were amazing. Unfortunately, you do get the 1% of people who are not. And that's just human nature. And unfortunately, they're the ones that burn into your brain, and they're the ones that you remember. So it is really difficult to like personally kind of bring yourself back from that, especially if you are a real people pleaser. Some people can kind of just let that slide and just go, oh well, that's they don't like me. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people, so it really hurt. And yes, it did hurt our brand. We not massively, I think, because people knew that we were doing everything we possibly could during that time to keep people happy. So, we were loaning out different products. Anything we had in the warehouse, we were doing as loan products, or we were sending out mattresses, or, all sorts of different things just to keep people happy. So yes, it did impact our brand. Probably not as much as it would have had we not dealt with things the way we did. By all means, we absolutely could have handled it better. But I think that we just showed that we were really trying. We were really trying to help people. And so I think people buy into that. And I think a time of a crisis, how you handle yourself is also, you can then win customers for life as a result of that too. So yes, it definitely, those 3 events did damage our brand, but not significantly. And I think it's just all about having the customer at the center of everything you do, and just making sure that ultimately you're trying to keep them happy. Um,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, it's
Just that whole communication, making sure that you're always keeping him informed. Transparency is obviously very important, and that little bit of empathy when you, as you said, when you reply back to them, just not being on that defensive right from the
absolutely,
get-go.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's so funny when you're, I would obviously get to the customers who were really aggro, and so I'd have to speak to them on the phone. And as soon as I think everyone's is so conditioned that everything is going to be hard that as soon as someone calls and I say, yep, sorry, I'm really sorry, we've stuffed that up, or, we should have done better on that. As soon as you say that, that almost disarms someone. And then half the time they will, by the end of the phone call, be saying, oh, look, you tried really hard and I can see that you're doing your best. Instead of, if you just try to be defensive and argue with people, it doesn't get anyone anywhere, basically.
No, definitely not. Now, you spoke about business being all-consuming, and it having an impact, on how much time you spend with your family. Did you want to take us sort of deep dive into that a little bit more? Like, what impact has running a business of your type had on you and like those around you? It's a
Wow.
big question. I
Okay.
know.
Do you want to hear
And
my
I
health?
need to put a caveat on this. I have Insta stalked in the most non-creepy way
Oh God, go
your
for it.
personal Instagram, and like just read a couple of posts there that where you highlighted that it had been a bit of a struggle for you there at some point.
Absolutely. And I try to be really honest about that. I think that, Instagram and social media are amazing channels, but there is lots of the perfect life on there. And so I probably do the opposite. I try not to put too much of a perfect life on there and try to be more real. But yeah, so look, it's had an enormous impact on me personally, and also on my family, both good and bad. So obviously, just having your own business allows you the flexibility to, schedule your own day. So, as an example, today my son's sick, so I'm working from home today. If I worked for another company pre-COVID, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that. And it was also his swimming carnival day today, so I was planning on going to that. So, the good. You've just got to take the good and the bad with everything. So the positives of having your own business, I feel, definitely outweigh the negatives. But so yeah, absolutely, running my own show, just showing my children what it's like to work hard, and they're so invested in the business. We will go to a hotel, and my kids, the first thing they do is like check out the bed heads and what it's made out of, and they will analyze the furniture. My daughter is obsessed with bathrooms, and so she'll come out, she's like, Mum, you should see the tiles in there, they're really cool. Like, she's 9. So the good thing is that it's definitely become part of our family life. So Incy's just part of our family, basically. And then on the flip side, obviously, working, to have a successful business, especially in the current environment, you do have to work really hard at it. And that's a reality. And I've got lots of other friends in business. And I think, especially right now, lots of people are really just working hard to survive. It's tough out there, and you just you just think that you get back on top of one thing and then something else hits, and it's exhausting. And yeah, so look, it has had a big impact on me personally. I think that I'm a much stronger person than I ever even thought I was. I now know I'm much more resilient, but my health has also taken an impact. So I'm currently in the process of doing all sorts of testing for thyroid and adrenal burnout and, all those kinds of things. So, yeah, it's definitely, you've got to take the good with the bad. Um,
Mm.
yeah, it's an interesting one. I could talk about that for days. And I don't even know where to kind of stop talking about that, to be honest, because it is such a big thing, and I think it's probably a bigger conversation that people should be having. I know 3 of my other friends, close friends, who I all have businesses. We all have been doing it for 7 to 10 years now, and everyone has kind of got varying levels of different health issues. And look, I just think you can only put your body under so much stress before it starts to say, give me a break. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. That's the thing, isn't it? It's that constant exhaustion that just hangs over you like a
Yep.
cloud sometimes. And,
Yeah.
it's not something that a long weekend is going to fix either. I think that's the
No.
thing. People think, oh, it's a long weekend. Great. I'll have a break.
Yep.
It's like, no, your body needs a full reset.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's
And it
just,
also, as a result of, you not feeling at your best, then, I'm snappier with the kids than I would normally be, and I'm less patient with all sorts of things. So, it starts to impact on all areas of your life.
it does. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what the solution though is, Christy, either though.
Oh, I don't
I
either.
don't know.
Do you know, I just, I actually had a call with my nutritionist, I think it was on Monday, and she was like, well, you just need to reduce your stress. And I was like, I know, but surely no matter what I do, there's an element of stress. Like, I think we just have to manage stress and just know how much we can take on and how much we can't. So it's just about trying to manage that and juggle it. Like everything else, it's just about juggling how much you can and can't withhold. And different people have different levels.
They do. And I think that's important as well, to not look at someone else and say, well, they're doing this, this, and this. I'm only doing, A, B, and C. But the thing is, as you said, we've all got different levels. We've all got other things going on in the background. That, we need to pay attention to apart from our businesses.
Absolutely. I think, look, that's a good thing to come out of COVID. I think lots and lots of, it has had allowed basically the whole world to just reprioritize and understand what matters.
Yeah. Speaking of COVID, a filthy, dirty word for me this week for the last 5 days. The impact of COVID on your business. What did that look like, and compared to 2018?
So, look, to be honest, if you'd have asked me in 2020 the impact of COVID on my business, I would have said that it was, neutral or potentially slightly positive. So, we definitely had an increase in sales because we're online and it's a home based, product. We definitely saw a spike in sales. We probably didn't have the stock levels to fulfill on those sales that were coming through. So that has meant longer pre-order times for people, which has started to frustrate people. And given how long it takes for us to produce our product, so it's 90 days from the time they start till it leaves a factory, and then normally it's like 2 to 3 weeks on the water, and now it's like, with the current environment, it's anywhere up to 2 months. So we're looking at 5 months now between placing an order and receiving the product. So at any one time, we kind of have, 12 to 14 containers in, either at the start of production, nearly finished on the water, or arriving at the warehouse. So that has actually meant that it's been really difficult. It's kind of all just hit basically this year. So I think people have our timeframes are now too long for lots of people to wait. So at the moment, some of our factories have fared better than others. So our metal, our velvet, and our mattress factory have been pretty okay. So we're looking, we're shipping out of March now for those products, but our wooden products, which is all of our cots and change tables and baby furniture, basically, that at the moment, I think we're selling out of end of April for some products and even end of May for others. So it has really impacted on our production and our production timeframes. By March, we'll be back fully on track for, metal, velvet, and upholstery, but we won't be back on track for wood until at least May. So it's been a long road, and it's been really, the things that we just didn't anticipate were the shipping delays and the raw material shortages, because we manufacture in Vietnam, Taiwan, and Malaysia, all countries that have been really minimally impacted by COVID. We thought, yeah, we've survived this. This is great. But then there's been all the so basically the wharves in Sydney went on strike, and it has had this knock-on effect like you would never believe. So we had one container that took over 2 months to get to us, and it ended up being delivered to Perth, and we had to rail it over. It's just because the port, there was so much congestion at the Sydney ports that it had to be delivered elsewhere and then actually railed across the country to us. So yeah, there's lots of things you just can never anticipate or even plan for. So yeah, 2020 was okay for us. We really knuckled down and reprioritised and, felt like we fared COVID okay. But 2021 is proving to be just logistically harder.
Yeah, and I suppose it's hard because you're only dealing really with a 9-month timeline
Yes,
for most of your customers. If we're talking a cot, generally you'd like that sort of setup, in those last few weeks of your third trimester
of
sort of thing,
course.
and
Yes, yeah,
even
yeah.
then you might be able to buffer it out for maybe a month when you get home. But yeah, we're dealing with timelines that we can't
Absolutely.
really move with, can we?
That's exactly right. And look,
Yeah.
we understand that. And yeah, it's just the ones that kind of threw a curveball to us were the ones that we were like, yeah, great, it's left the factory. That was the big battle last year, was just making sure they had the raw materials to have it produced and then leave the factory. But we just didn't anticipate the 2 month on the water timings that, normally take 2 to 3 weeks. That really has blown out our timings. And obviously now when we're saying end of May, we're working to, we've put that buffer back in again. So yeah, because we did get a little burnt, unfortunately, and once again we have disappointed some customers by by not being able to deliver when we thought we were going to get the product.
And I know it's hard to accept, but it is outside of your hands. Like, there isn't, unfortunately, anything you can do either, is there? It's just the way of the world at the moment, and we're very impatient people.
Do you know what though? I feel like last year and this is really, it's funny. It's talking to lots of other business owners. This seems to be the vibe, is that everyone was really patient in 2020. We all just went, okay, this is what's happening. That's unfortunate. Whereas it's almost like our patience ended at the end of 2020, and now we're like, okay, even with the lockdowns, and you see people are just, like the
Yes.
gyms just go, oh well, I did it last year. I'm not going to shut down again this year. I'm just going to keep
Yeah.
opening.
100%. I feel that as well. It's like yeah, it's really hard, very,
Yeah,
very
it
hard.
is.
I suppose if I go back to being a creepy stalker on your Instagram, something else that I really noticed is that you love working with the small business community, even though you are a $1 million business, which I think is just beautiful that you haven't forgotten us, and that you're a speaker at events, you mentor, you do so much. Like, you actually reach back and pull others along. Is there something that drives you to do that?
Do you know what that is? So when I sit down and think about, okay, what could post Incy life be like, or what do I really want out of life? Do you know what my number one thing that always comes up, and that is mentoring, small businesses. I just really, really, it's just something I really love. I love nothing more than those early days of a business, and all that excitement and nervousness and uncertainty, and I just love. And I love helping people with that. And I don't know what I in particular I love about it. I think I just love the energy, and just the possibility as well. So there's nothing in particular driving me, other than it's just something I feel really passionate about, and I genuinely get back from it as much as I give. So I do I don't officially mentor anyone anymore. I did have a couple of years ago, but I have kind of 4 or 5 people who I, chat to once every month or 6 weeks, who just, kind of give me an insight into their business and allow me to, give them some ideas or some feedback. And I just love those calls. They're what inspire me, and they're what give me the drive to keep going. So selfishly, I probably get as much out of it as I give back. So, or more even, because that's what excites me about thinking back to, 10 years is a long time to be doing the same thing. And so you do need to be, doing different things to keep yourself inspired and interested. So they're the things I love. I love hearing about other people's business ideas, and, different ways to structure things. And that's my ultimate thing to do. So yeah, it's probably just a selfish thing really, rather than but yeah, I really love it.
Well, it's generously selfish, very much so. If you weren't doing Incy, what do you think you'd be doing?
I do think that that's what I would do. I would love to just mentor small businesses and it's something that kind of at middle of last year when I was reprioritizing and thinking, I've just brought on a general manager to help run the business so that I can take a bit of a step back and obviously spend a bit more time with the kids and just do something, for me. And that's kind of where I'm at. That's what I love and that's what interests me. So, yeah, that's at if I had all the money in the world and all the time in the world, that's what I would just do. I would just give advice to business people if they wanted it.
Oh, it's beautiful. Well, I
Mm.
can't wait for life post Incy then, so that we can just take all your knowledge and and help others along. Now, you live in Orange, New
Yes.
South Wales.
Yep.
We've had Pip from Jumbled on the
Mhm.
podcast from that region, but I'd love you to tell us a bit about the wonderful region you live in, and maybe shout out a business or two and why it's possible to run a business from the bush.
So I grew up in the Central West. So I grew up in Oberon, and went to school and university in Bathurst. Then we moved to Sydney for probably 12 or 13 years, and then moved back. So we've been back here for 8 years and living around Milthorpe and Orange. So we live kind of in between Milthorpe and Orange, which is Milthorpe's this super super cute little town. Which has, I think it's got about 800 people, but has a hatted restaurant, two different cellar doors, just amazing little cafes and providors and cute little boutique shops. So I really have an affinity for the whole of the Central West. So I just love this whole region, and it's what's home to me. And what I really love about it is the community, and especially, I have to say the Orange community is a really special community, especially the business community. Orange is really, I feel like it's really kind of accelerated over the last couple of years. And I work in a co-working space in Orange called the Hive, and there's a whole heap of other different businesses there, and there's just such an entrepreneurial spirit about Orange. It almost feels a little bit like LA, where everyone's kind of got their own little side hustle. Even if you are working for someone, you've got a little side hustle on the side of, might be floristry or, all sorts of different cool little businesses. So I just absolutely love this area and I feel so passionate about it. And Orange in particular has just the most amazing food and wine, and it's on par with any major capital city. And that's what's interesting is when we left Sydney, that's what I missed the most, was just going out for beautiful dinners and meeting someone at a cafe or at a real a trendy cool cafe. But honestly, it's as good here as it is in Sydney now. So there's really nothing to miss. And in terms of running a business from regionally, I actually think it's a benefit because life's easier regionally. Like I don't have hour and a half commutes on trains or buses or anything like that. I literally drop my kids off at the bus stop and then in 10 minutes I'm at work. And so as a result, and it's easy to park. So my life is so much easier being out here. So I just see it as a benefit. And look, I think that COVID has shown us all that we can really work from anywhere, and that technology allows us to run a business or a company or anything really from any location.
Yeah, and why not choose regional and rural? I mean, it's just
Absolutely.
stunning,
Why wouldn't
absolutely
you? Like,
stunning.
honestly,
Yep.
why wouldn't you? Oh, and sorry, to answer your question about call outs and businesses, the list is endless. So there's actually a blog on the Incy website that because people honestly ask me, I probably get asked that once a week. Like, I'm coming up to Orange for the weekend. Where should I go? So there is so many amazing places. So my favourites. So in terms of food, you could do breakfast at Groundstone or Birdie. They're my two go-tos. In terms of coffee, I'm so lucky where I'm located. We have Good Eddie, and then we have Mad Hatters around the corner, and and Nimrods. They're my three we have so many good cafes literally within a 1 minute walk that I have to mix it up. I feel bad about just supporting one of them because all of them are great.
Yeah.
And then in terms of restaurants, Mr. Lim's, Avito, I love both of those. Union Bank, Chard is amazing. Tonic, which is the one in Milthorpe, is just incredible. In terms of vineyards, there's Philip Shaw, Heifer Station, Borrowdale, Ross Hill. Honestly, the list of places that you can see is endless. In terms of shopping, of course, there's Jumbled. It's the ultimate. But then there's also the White Place. There's Hawke's General Store. There's Cint. There's so many amazing different little things that you can do. Like you could really, I actually had a friend come here and stay for a week, and she said she didn't stay for long enough. She ran out of time to do all the things she wanted to do. So yeah, it's a really, really special. And then even just the broader regions, you can expand out to Milthorpe and Carcoar. Like Carcoar is the cutest little town. It's called the town that time forgot, and it really is like stepping back a century. Yeah, it's really special. It's a really beautiful area. Obviously, as you can tell how I'm speaking, I feel so passionate about it.
I will have to have a look at that blog post then. Look, I've said it 100 times now. Just desperate to come to Orange. I did see that Pip had put something up about the huddle. Might be back in some way or form this
Yes.
year. So
Yeah.
that is on my must-to-do list.
It was
as
so
long
much
as
fun
everyone
last year. You
lets me over the
definitely have to
border.
come.
Oh, I know I missed out. That was the worst thing. It's just like, oh God, it looks amazing. Now, finally, before I let you go, can you tell me about a friend that you have that we all need to know about?
So I really had two people who got me through the last 12 months, and really they're both business women. So one of them is Beck from Mian and Co. She's based in Geelong, and so we just have, I don't know, probably bi-weekly calls just as a check-in with each other and just making sure that we're both okay, giving each other business advice. And then the other one is my friend Nadine, and she's from a company she has One Fine Collective, which is One Fine Baby and One Fine Day and One Fine Bridal Market. And we talk basically daily. And the two of those women are just they're just such superstars, such legends who will just give their time and energy. And they know my whole life inside and out, and I can just ring them and say, I could literally send them a text and say, I've got this, what should I do? And they will just be there whenever I need them. And they are just such incredible business women, but also they're just such great friends to me personally, and have really got me through the last 12 months. And, I feel like I've got them through as well. So go and check them out. Mian and Co. do the most beautiful children's clothing and toys. And now they also do women's clothing. And then look at One Fine Baby and One Fine Day. Both amazing businesses with amazing women running them.
What an amazing support crew that you have there.
Yeah, I'm really lucky.
Well, Kristy, thank you so much for your time today. Of course, I've got a list of notes to the side of me, and I do wish that maybe I could have my time over and redo a nursery. It would be lovely. Just always inspired by what you have. But hey, maybe I just need one of those fabulous rockers, those chairs that you have. Just
Absolutely.
In my room, so,
well, we go all the way up to teen, so you can always redo a bedroom.
Oh, I don't want to spoil them that much. Just for me.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. Now, before you take off with all that inspiration and knowledge, we'd love for you to leave a review on our podcast so that we can continue to amplify women's voices in the media. And if you have any questions, we'd like to celebrate a win, you can always connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Oak Magazine AU. I'm so glad we've met and that now you know a friend of mine.